Attribution is a worthless exercise and does not matter. In this video, I'll be touching on third-party attribution tools, in-platform attribution, and how you should be approaching the attribution problem to drive the best financial outcomes for your business. Now, I do understand that it's such a compelling idea that if you can accurately assign appropriate value to every action within the customer journey, then you can perfectly allocate your dollars relative to their exact impact. This is the exact thought pattern that every single performance marketer, every media buyer, every business owner eventually goes through. They have this almost see the light moment that if we can solve attribution, we will know how to get the exact perfect efficiency out of every single dollar that we put into this paid media spend machine. And that's how Triple Whale and all of these third-party attribution tools made hundreds of millions of dollars, was off the back of this idea. But it's fundamentally flawed. It's an unknowable reality. You cannot accurately assign appropriate value to every single action dependent on its relevant impact. It's simply not possible, and we'll dive into exactly why. But firstly, how do we define attribution? Because attribution really means nothing in isolation. Are we talking about third-party tool attribution? Are we talking about in-platform attribution? What attribution models are we actually referencing? There's a lot of different directions that you can go here. So we're going to talk about third-party, we'll talk about in-platform, and then when it comes to attribution models, we'll make a quick comment there and then tie it all together. So let's start with an example. Let's say you're looking at a Facebook ad account, maybe you're in your own ad account, and you have two ads running. One's at a 5 return on ad spend, one's at a 2 return on ad spend. Now, it's important to know that those return on ad spend numbers were given to you based on a last click attribution model by Facebook. So Facebook tracked clicks or potentially even views, depending on what attribution model you're using, and then determined that we got X amount of purchases, which resulted in a 5 return on ad spend and an 8 return on ad spend. Now, in this instance, your decision-making would be to probably turn off ad 1 and then scale up ad 2. Now, the great thing is that that decision is aligned with the optimization function in the platform. What I mean by that is that as long as you're using a purchase optimization setting within your campaign build on Facebook, the campaign is going to be inherently optimizing towards ad 2 because it wants to maximize your return on ad spend for you. And so it's going to look at the purchase data and the individual psychographic data points on the consumers that purchased and then start to optimize towards more of that. So to really simplify it down, this is what we're optimizing for. Perfect. Let's do more of that. That's what's simplistically happening within the platform with these larger machine learning models. Now, when we start to look at third-party tools, let's say we open up Triple Whale, we have it set up, and we look at the exact same two ads, but Triple Whale shows us an 8 return on ad spend on ad 1 and a 5 on ad 2. So it's actually showing us the opposite. When we look in platform, ad 2 seems to be the better performer, but when we look at a third-party tool that's using other, call it technology, to be able to attribute purchases, it's using probably a different attribution model as well, it says that ad 1 is the better performer. Okay, so if we're going to take Triple Whale as our source of truth, or we're going to take any third-party tool as our source of truth, then the decision-making framework that we would move forward with here is let's turn off ad 2, because ad 2 has a worse efficiency than ad 1. If we want to allocate our marketing dollars to the greatest impact possible, we should be putting them into ad 1 based on this data set. Now, the issue here is that third-party attribution is not a solution to optimization. These are two separate things. They're disconnected. And what I mean by that is that your in-platform Facebook campaign is going to be optimizing for ad 2. It's going to be putting more spend in, and it's going to be optimizing for the psychographic data points of the purchases that are occurring off ad 2. But Triple Whale is telling you to do something different. And so you're breaking the optimization function. You're saying, hey, Facebook, I know that you are currently optimizing for this, but stop doing that and do this. And the reality is that you're trying to solve optimization, but you're not feeding in the correct data into the machine learning model to be able to do that. Now, this would be solvable if you could connect the third-party return on ad spend figures into Meta. And that's a feature that just rolled out literally a few weeks ago. And so that somewhat does solve for this problem, But it's still important to understand that unless the optimization is connected to the attribution, all you are doing is shooting yourself in the foot because you're making changes that are against what the machine learning algorithm is trying to optimize towards. A little comment on attribution models is that every single attribution model, no matter how you cut it, whether you're looking at last click, data-driven, whether you're looking at linear across platforms, whether you're looking at 7-day click or 1-day view, whatever it might be, there are so many different ways to cut an attribution model. They all are flawed. And you can principally know that they're all flawed because if they weren't, we would just be using one attribution model. There wouldn't be multiple attribution models if we had a perfect one, but there's no perfect way to attribute conversions across a multi-channel or a multivariate pathway. It is simply not possible. There's always going to be a disadvantage. And that's why apps like Triple and third-party attribution tools will give you the ability to toggle between them so you can see the difference between the attribution channels and try to triangulate a single source of truth. But the reality is that all of them have a flaw. You try to triangulate a bunch of attribution models that all have a bunch of different flaws. In my opinion, it's a lost game. You're not going to get really anywhere. And then if you do decide to make a decision off the back of it, it's going to be against the optimization function within the platform. It's also important to understand when it comes down to attribution is that you will always have over attribution at the bottom of the funnel and under attribution at the top of the funnel. And the reason for this is because all consumers will enter into a customer journey. They will be served a Facebook ad. They'll be served a Google ad. They might actually just see a billboard as they're driving to work. And now all of a sudden, they're aware of the product. And from there, they might then get served a Facebook ad. They might then get served a Google ad. They'll have all of these different impressions across an omni-channel paid media mix. And then eventually, they make a click and make a conversion. But the reality is that none of these platforms are very good at all at going back to the first click. And you can start to analyze this. You can look at first click attribution data and try to see where are our initial clicks coming from. We want to know where are people first finding out about our product that's then leading them into this journey to eventually buy. And the reality is anytime you do this exercise, and I've done it hundreds of times, you never get accurate data on where the first click came from. It's always riddled with inaccuracies, and you know this because you look at the first click data and it says brand search, or it says retargeting, or it says maybe Advantage Plus, but we know there's a lot of middle of funnel targeting going on in there. And so you can never really truly see where is the first interaction, where is the first impression occurring with these new audiences that are then pushing them down this customer journey to then eventually follow through and make a purchase. And to really simplify this down for those that might be overwhelmed with the technical jargon that I'm throwing out in this video, let's say that, for example, you are running heavy meta ads and that is where everyone's really finding out about your product. No one knows about you, and now suddenly people know because you're serving on their Instagram and Facebook feeds. And then after they interact with a few ads, they then hop over to Google, they search for you because they want to know, do you have reviews? Are you a reliable product, a reliable brand? They search for you, they look at some reviews, cool. They end up clicking on an organic listing or maybe even a brand search ad, and then they buy. Now, through that customer journey, which is very typical for really any new brand starting, Google's going to look fantastic, Facebook's going to look terrible. Because these people were introduced into the funnel and then likely took long enough to buy that it couldn't be claimed in the 7-day click attribution, and then went through to Google and bought, and Google can claim the entire conversion. And so a question I get really commonly from a lot of clients is, why aren't we spending more on Google? Google has such a good return on ad spend. We're getting a 9 on Google, we're getting a 2 on Facebook. What are we doing? And it's due to attribution being incorrect. All of the attribution on Google is because these are users that are right at the end of the funnel. This is not how we generate demand. Google is not generating more demand at the top of funnel. It is simply capturing people that are near the end of their purchasing journey. Now, to give you a more specific example, because this is very broad at a platform level, let's look at 2 individual campaigns in Meta. So let's look at a cold targeting campaign that we're running in a Meta account with heavy audience exclusions. And by heavy exclusions, I mean not only excluding purchases, but also excluding website visitors. So the second someone has become even slightly warm, they've even visited the site, we're no longer targeting them. And then let's have a second campaign running alongside that, which is an Advantage Plus, which has absolutely no audience exclusions. We're targeting, there's no budget cap in there. So it's targeting anyone it wants. The reality is this campaign will guaranteed always 10 out of 10 times have a better return on ad spend attributed in platform than this campaign will. Now, does that mean that this is the better campaign, which is where you should be more efficiently allocating dollars moving forward? No, because this campaign is going to be targeting people that were generated by this campaign. And so the initial first impression, the initial click, was generated by the cold targeting heavy exclusion campaign. And then the Advantage Plus with no audience exclusions hopped in, did some heavy retargeting there, and then converted them. If you tried to increase budgets here, you would not see incremental lift at a store level because you're trying to scale the bottom of the funnel. And scaling the bottom of a funnel is impossible. The drop-off rate within a funnel is always going to be relatively consistent no matter what scale you're at, no matter what business you are. And so anytime you try to scale up the bottom, it simply will not work, and it will result in wasted dollars and wasted efficiency. Instead, you want to scale the campaign that has the significantly worse attributed return on ad spend. And this is fundamentally why attribution is a worthless exercise and does not matter. If you are looking purely at attributed conversions, whether it's third party or whether it's in platform, to make educated decisions on how to profitably scale an e-commerce brand, you are approaching the problem wrong, and you will make the wrong decisions. As a business owner, I completely understand, because I went through this for a year and a half. If you look at some of our old content, in fact, if you just go to our YouTube channel and go to the early days, I had videos saying that third-party attribution tools were a godsend of a product. I was sitting there saying that you need third-party tools. Attribution is the key to everything. That is how you determine where people are coming from and where you can allocate efficient spend. And so I went through this journey myself. This is a retrospective video on how wrong I was, which is that I thought that if you could get all of these details, you could allocate dollars accurately and you could get the best efficiency out of your spend. But the reality is that it's not the answer to your problems, and all it will result in is a detriment to your business. The reality is that if you over-prioritize attribution, it will end up destroying your decision-making and funneling you into an erosion in efficiency of your paid media spend and a worse position than if you just looked at overarching figures, MER, acquisition MER, LTV to CAC, the numbers that correlate revenue to actual paid media spend. They're the figures that are going to allow you to better determine where you should be putting spend, alongside having a better technical understanding of the platform. And so going back to this example, if you didn't understand how heavy audience exclusions would then negate those users from getting retargeted in this campaign, and if you didn't understand that Advantage Plus does quite heavy middle of funnel targeting, if you don't have heavy audience exclusions, if you don't have that technical understanding, then you are also going to struggle to allocate dollars efficiently. And so it's through a combination of looking holistically at the business and looking at incremental lift within revenue as you make changes on platform, rather than over-specifying into direct attribution, in conjunction with having a very technical understanding of how these campaigns operate. That is where you see success, and that is when you can scale profitably with a disregard for the attributed numbers in any platform that you're looking at.